You ever sit down to write something for social media or your bulletin or anywhere where you have the right words that talk about an event and encourage people to come to it, but you're just not sure what to write? Well, that's a skill called copywriting. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at 10 ways that you can write better copy on your website, on social media, or pretty much anywhere where you're trying to communicate with words. Let's get into it. All right, so we're going to try to get through this in under 5 minutes. This content comes from Yoast. Yoast is a search engine optimization plugin, which means it helps people find websites on Google, right? So if you're familiar with WordPress, there's a good chance you've used Yoast, but let's get right into the tips. First of all, define your voice and tone. Who do you want your church to be online? Do you want to come off formal? Do you want to come off fun and engaging? Do you want to particularly come off informal? This is all about deciding how you want your church to be and then digging into that and communicating in that way. If you're somebody who's felt like you had somebody else write social for your post and you said, man, it just doesn't sound like our church, that's what's breaking down, is there isn't a clear voice and tone for your church online. So nobody's really sure how to write stuff that sounds like your church, right? So getting clear on that is really helpful. Actually, this seminar that we're doing on May 7th, the EC Digital Strategy Seminar, we're really going to focus on this concept of voice and tone, right? Figuring out who your church is and who you want to be online. Moving to the next one, problem, agitate, solve, right? You want to be clear on what the problem is. What problem does this solve for the person? You want to agitate that problem, right? You want to express empathy. You want to let people know where you're coming from. And then you want to say, here's how we're going to do it, right? So, your marriage conference that your church is offering, you might think, okay, well, we're just going to make it seem happy and we're just going to make it seem fun. Well, people aren't going to connect to that because the truth is if they don't feel like everything is roses and daisies in their marriage all the time. So maybe you say, hey, we've all been there. We have tough times in our marriage and we're not really sure to get out. Join us for this study that we're coming up on that's going to help you get 5 strategies to argue better in your marriage because we want you to have a healthy marriage, right? That's a great way to formulate your copy. These next 2 are kind of together, right? Keep it short and sweet, and simple is better. The way to kind of mantra this into your thinking is less but better, right? What is the fewest and most simple words that I can say this with that communicate? You are competing with a lot of noise on social media, so you want to make sure that you're using as few words as possible. Next up, what does your audience think, right? Like if your audience is saying, hey, we'd like to see more of this on social, listen to them and try it out and see if it's something that gets you some engagement, gets you some people interacting with your stuff. Finally, emotions are a powerful tool, right? You have to be careful about what emotions you use. You don't want to be manipulative. That's certainly not something you want to do. But if there is a felt emotion around what you're doing, don't be afraid to talk about it, right? Like, hey, come to our men's ministry and don't do life alone, right? You're talking about the emotion of loneliness. You're talking about the emotion of a real felt thing that people feel that your men's ministry could help with and that your church can help with. So don't be afraid to talk about emotions. It's a little bit about hashtags being findable, right? Social media is organized by hashtags, and if your audience is using hashtags, then you definitely want to be using them. So maybe there's a community festival coming up, like I know in Boyertown they have the Oli Fair, right? And if the Oli Fair is coming up, maybe you use those hashtags. You figure out where people are, and you post about it, and you post pictures from it, and maybe somebody finds your church in that way. Don't hesitate to use hashtags to be findable on social media. All right, let's get through the rest of these. Consistency is key, right? A consistent brand voice, which I know is a very markety term, but really who your church is online, you want to be that way all the time, right? You don't want to confuse people with saying like, oh, well, this is this and this is that. Last 2, always have a call to action. Every social media post you post should have some type of point to it, right? And if you can, you want to call them to some sort of action. Hey, here's a recap of last weekend. We hope to see you next week when we're going to talk about this. That's a call to action. Hey, here's this event that's coming up. Here's a link to register, right? That's a call to action. And then finally, always use active voice, right? It was decided that our prices are to be lowered immediately versus we decided to lower our prices, right? Use active voice that's clear and forward and all of that. Now, this is just 10 quick tips. I wanted to keep it as short as I possibly could. I would love to talk more about this if in the comments, or if you want to give me a call and connect with me. I want to help you write stuff that connects with your people and draws your people to action. And these 10 tips are incredibly helpful. There's a link to this article in the description of this video. And there is a link to the EC Digital Strategy Seminar in the description of this video. And I hope that you'll interact with both things. All right, we'll see you soon.